All right, I've just tested my push-ups max just then in my previous video. You guys can check that out. But I'm gonna get down to squatting and doing my primary workout, which is gonna be squats today and some bench pressing. So I'll make sure I include both of those portions of my workout in this video, so you guys can not only just see what I do with the squats, but also you guys get to see what I do with the bench press. I have had pretty good success with the bench press recently, and I've pretty much attributed that to the push-ups routine that I've been doing. My bench press has gone up fairly quickly in about the space of a week. I went from 130 to 140, which is really good gains, and that coincided with me starting this push-up protocol, which is following the work of Pavel Tsatsouline, a program that he calls Greasing the Groove, where you basically, hit a percentage of your maximum every single day, multiple times a day. But anyway, check that guys out. It's going to be in the Greasing the Groove push-ups playlist if you want to check that out. But anyway, let me get to squatting. I've been thinking about what I'm going to do with my squatting session today. I've actually fallen in love with how reps feel, like how rep work feels. So I'm just going to still work up to 140 kilos or thereabouts for the top set, top training single. But I'm going to take my time to get there, so I'll be doing a whole lot more repetitions leading up to the 140. Previously, I've been doing sets of 5 with the bar, sets of 5 with 60, sets of 5 with 100, and then, slowly kind of creep up. But I think I'm going to take more of a repetition, high rep protocol in the warm-ups. Kind of what I did with the big squat program, which almost ended my life. So I'll be doing bar for 20, I'll go 40 for 20, I'll go 60 for 20, and then see how it feels from there. Because, like I said in the previous videos, when I do high rep work in the warm-ups, with the lighter sets, my mobility feels amazing. I almost feel like the body kind of really warms up and really opens up in the positions that I really want it to be in. So that's kind of really cool, which is one of the main reasons why I'm doing this. It's not so much because of the hypertrophy, although hypertrophy is really good. I just love how it makes me feel. It's making me feel really good in those positions, especially at the bottom. So it's making me, it's making it easier for me to rack the bar on top because I'm not leaning over so much. So it's really cool for somebody that doesn't do any rep work. It's a really interesting benefit of rep work that I'm going to try and include. So anyway, let's get started. This is the best stretch when it comes to front squatting. Oh man, it just really opens up your thoracic spine. I saw this in one of the, I think, Olympic halls, one of those channels that shows the professional Olympic weightlifters. I saw one guy do this and I thought, oh, I'll give this a shot. Stretches the lats, the triceps, stretches the traps as well. It just mimics the position that you're going to be in. Takes it to the edge of that range of motion. Alright, let's get 20 with this. Now in the big squat workout that I did the other day, he basically worked from 20 repetitions down. So 20 kilos, 20 reps, 30 kilos, 19 reps, 40 kilos, 18 reps. I'll take a bit of a variation of that. So I'll put 40 on the bar now, do that for 20. Obviously I'll see how it goes. Already puffed out. I've just done the bar. It's so interesting how different you know, low rep work is compared to high rep work. You could be really, really strong with low rep work, but this takes muscular endurance, fitness. Your hind legs come into play here quite a lot. Look, my rest rate's 30 or whatever it is. It's really, really, really quickly. It's just one set. By the way, had a really interesting discussion with one of the lads on the net here on YouTube. He said to me, "You're not drinking any water." Completely forgot to drink water in that big squat workout. It's really interesting why I did that. Usually I do sip on water, but I went through the whole thing, all that bloody, you know, hard work, huffing and puffing, sweating it up without drinking water. Rookie mistake, man. All right, let's get this 40. Oh, the really interesting thing I found after that big squat workout is that I didn't really get that sore. I was expecting to be bloody sore. I was sore a little bit in the quads, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't deal with. It was very manageable, like it was very light, very mild. Which makes me believe that my muscular endurance is better than I thought. It's my aerobic that's the one lacking here. Very unfit. Lungs and heart are not the best right now. I never take, you know, sets of 20 ever. So just wanted to incorporate a little bit more of this, especially in the warm-ups. Still do my Bulgarian style training. The reason why I do that is because it's not really Bulgarian, man. Like I've said many times before, you guys know, Bulgarians did this for 8 hours a day, 3 or 4 sessions in a day. I'm doing 1. So I like to call it Squat Everyday program rather than Bulgarian program, because Bulgarians are crazy people, man. It was a job for them. This is not a job for me, this is a hobby. This is going to be tough for me. This one, 60 kilos. As soon as I catch my breath, I'll attack this. I don't want to drag these rest periods too far. Oof. A lot of people ask me on the net, how the hell can you squat every day? And I think the assumption is that I do this every day, like, you know, sets of 20 every single day, big volume every day. It's not. I always tell people, it's whatever you want it to be, man. Like, you could squat every day, you could do push-ups every day, you could deadlift every day, but if you're doing a really low intensity, a really low volume, you can do anything every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it depends on how you approach it. If I was to do 5 sets of 5 at 80% every day, now I understand what you're talking about in terms of how the hell can you do it. You're a crazy nutter, you know, your willpower is crazy, whatever, all that stuff. I don't regard myself as anything crazy. I just work within my means. I kind of know where my body likes to be, and maybe I push a little bit further than that. Recently I haven't though, but it's all about that. You can do anything every day. So I kind of feel embarrassed when people say to me, oh man, you're a machine. Because, you know, like I've tippy-toed into the program. You guys can see the first couple of videos of this playlist. Like I tippy-toed this thing, man. You know, I didn't really go balls deep straight away. Like it wasn't like that. It was tippy-toe it, add a little bit extra, add a little bit extra. And then after 160 days, man, a little bit extra becomes this. It's quite impressive for somebody that's looking to start day one. Nothing special here, guys. All right, 60 kgs for 20. Let's get it. A whole lot of oxygen debt going on here. We're paying it one breath at a time. What do I do next? Let's make it 80 for 10. Yeah, let's do that. 80 for 10. How many minutes does that take? So 14, okay. So 15 minutes in almost. And I'm up to 80 kilos. I did 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets. Because I'm doing all this work now, in the lead up sets, I'm not going to do any back off work. It's one or the other. I've heard people talk about that it's better doing this way, kind of like pyramiding up, than doing, you know, sort of like a sprint to the top and then doing back off work. I don't know. It just depends on what you're after. If you want, you know, more energy for the top, then doing this is probably not the greatest idea because, you know, you're wasting yourself. So I've always thought hit the top number hard and then do back off work as you please. The trouble with that is that to get a really good warm up, you have to do this sort of shit. So it's a trade-off, isn't it? All right, let's do 10 of these. And then after this, I'll do 100 for maybe 5. Yeah, 5 sounds good. Man, quads. It's good. Feel like a weightlifter. Ah. All right, let's put 100 on. Uh. 17 minutes. By now you guys probably have realized that a lot of planes fly over my house. We live next to a, well, not next, probably, what would it be, 5-10 k's away from here. There's an airport. It's not a commercial airport. It's kind of one of those lighter aircraft airports. They seem to be flying overhead midday. From 10 o'clock onwards, they get up and going. So exactly the time on my days off when I record these videos is when they fly over, so you guys always hear the bloody airplanes over me. Some of them are pretty cool looking, but anyway. Alright, let's get this 100 for 5 and then we'll drop the weights to maybe singles from now on. Trying to get to 140, maybe 150, see how I feel. Probably not, since I've done so many reps leading up to it. Alright, let's get to it. Yeah, I feel a lot less powerful now. 140 might be a struggle. 20 minutes in, not bad. Not bad amount of work. When you do rep work, it seems so much, you do so much more work in such a less amount of time. for once I actually feel like I'm working in the gym, you know. Most of my shit is like, you know, sub-maximal, both for intensity and volume. Heart rate rarely goes up. Rest rate never goes up. You actually feel like you're working, which is why I think a lot of people get fall in love with you know, metabolic conditioning type training, because you actually feel like you're doing shit. Whereas when you're doing kind of like strength training, you know, it's a different kind of feeling. You know, you're failing because of there's a lack of mechanical tension in the muscle, like you just can't override the tension. Whereas with metabolic, you know, metabolic in nature, right? So you're running out of fuel, oxygen, glucose to the muscle. You know, you start getting into the anaerobic kind of metabolism, lactic acid starts happening. So people feel more like they're training when you do this type of training. You know, that's why a lot of people lose faith in doing kind of greasing the groove kind of methods. Train the nervous system. I've always liked the nervous system training because, you know, think of a race car. A race car is as fast as possible to the leanest or the lightest body. This idea that, you know, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. I never really liked that idea because, so what, I need to be 120, 130 kilos to squat 300 kilos? You know, I don't like that ratio. Every kilo gets you 5 kilos on the bar. You know, I really never want to go over 100 kilos body weight. I'm 95 now. I never want to get heavier than that. Because once you get over the edge of that, the medical world sees you as obese. I'm probably overweight, even though I don't believe in the, you know, body mass index and how they work out, you know, all that stuff, because, you know, muscle tissue is a lot more healthy than fat tissue. However, if you're 140 kilo bodybuilder, you know, full of muscle, that's still not good for your cardiovascular system. Your muscles still need perfusion from your heart, and that puts a strain on your heart. It's not good to be really, really heavy. It's good for the gym, but it's not really good for health. And I've always said to you guys, I don't give a shit about this gym. It's all about health for me, and the health has to be number one. Whatever I can fit, performance-wise, into a healthy body is where I'll go. I don't want to go and, you know, put meaningless weight on my body just so I can put some meaningless, shitty weight on the bar. Don't want to get heavier. That's, I really strongly feel that way. That probably comes from the work I work in, which is emergency healthcare. I work as a nurse there. I see a lot of people come through. Yeah, sure, cardiovascular diseases happen in people that are also slim. But it's most likely happening in people that are overweight for whatever reason. The heart doesn't grow in size. Well, it can grow in size, but that's not doing you favors. The heart is also, I guess, fixed for your height. It's not going to get any better. What does get better is the efficiency of your tissue to process energy. So you can get fitter. You can get, you know, more efficient using the oxygen that the respiratory cardiovascular system supplies the muscles. But in terms of, you know, your heart becoming a super pump so you can feed 200 kilo body, it's not going to be able to do that. It doesn't really matter if it's fat or fat tissue or muscle tissue. You can't get away from that. So there's a cap of body weight you don't want to get to, and it's not unlimited. So that's why I like central nervous system training, because it maximizes my body for me. This is where you see guys in the Olympic weightlifting world, you know, they're like 70, 80 kilo dudes squatting 300. You know, that's cool to me, man. Like, that's an efficient mover. When I see a 150 kilo guy squatting 300 kilos, I'm like, yeah, it's impressive, but it's not as impressive as a lighter guy. Because that 150 kilo guy, I know for a fact, he doesn't need to tell me or disclose anything about himself. I know for a fact that he's not a healthy individual. He probably has a high blood pressure, or he's probably on the border of getting hypertension. He probably has atherosclerosis throughout his system. Multitude of things. That's my perspective on health and fitness. And that's why I gravitate towards greasing the groove type training. because it's all about health, right? It's all about, like Pavel Tsatsouline says, you know, he started his work, you know, working with military people, you know, preparing them for the field. And so a bodybuilder type kind of build doesn't do well in the field because, you know, you can't have a caravan full of food following these people. They're often on mission 3 or 4 days, whatever the case might be. They can only have, you know, a handful of things in their bag. They can't have 50 steaks. So, you know, the bodybuilder can feed his tissue. The lighter the possible, stronger the possible. Those are the things that I'm interested in. Obviously, I want to look good as well. I don't want to be this gaunt looking motherfucker. You still want to look good, but I'm just saying I don't want to be a super heavyweight. I don't want to be a really heavy guy with a 300 kilo squat. That's not a win for me. All right, enough talk. Let me hit this next. Oh, 120. Let's hit this for one. One really good rep. Alright, let's load 140. There'll be a single as well. Take another sip of water. I'm probably drinking too much now compared to what I did the other day. Well, going back on what I was saying, everyone has different philosophies. I'm not saying that my philosophy is the best. I'm just trying to explain to you guys why I feel the way I feel. It comes from my experiences in life, it comes from my knowledge in life. So that's the conclusion I've made. That doesn't mean whatever you guys are doing is wrong. I might feel like it's wrong, but that doesn't mean that I have, you know, beef with you because you have another approach. I've said this in the past. If you're in the lifting game, if you're in a sports game, we're mates, we're buddies. You know, I don't want to discourage people from doing a exercise regimen because it doesn't, you know, go along with my philosophies. Anything is better sitting on the couch. Whatever you're doing, you're better. I've always said, you know, a super heavyweight guy that's 150 kilos carrying an Atlas stone across the field, he can be fit. He can be fit. Big guys can be fit. What I'm saying is it's not ideal. You know, if that guy was a little skinnier, the heart would work a lot less because there's less mass to perfuse, a lot less mass to carry. That's the perspective I'm coming from. But if you're in the lifting game, in the young game, you know, I like you, basically. That's where I stand on that. It's always been like that. I just don't want to get under people's skin saying, oh, because I'm overweight, that means, you know, you don't like me or whatever the case might be. No. I'm coming from the perspective of a healthcare professional that's got a hobby of lifting barbells. So if I can inspire you to lose a couple of kilos to get better for your physical health, that's great. But if you choose to stay that weight and still kick ass with weight, head off to you, man. That's honestly how I feel. All right, 140, let me get this. That felt heavy. We're gonna call it quits today for the squats. Let me set up the bench press and then I'll turn the camera back on. You guys don't have to watch me set up crap around here. All right, I've set the bench press up. The plan today, I haven't bench pressed in 6 days now. I just had a look at the log. the training log. It's been 6 days around my shift work and whatever. Usually my bench press is kind of the secondary preference, I guess, in training. It's always the squat, front squat. And I did that pig squat recently, which basically was supposed to be my bench press day, but it was just too much. So it's been 6 days, and usually when I bench press, I do this exact routine which I'm about to show you. So I work up to a training max, and then I shave off 20%, so 80% on the bar of that training max, and I do 10 sets of 3 at 80%. And that's usually the training session for the day. And then, throughout the day, whatever, I usually have some push-ups and whatever. So it seems like a lot of reps, but yeah, I usually get through it in half an hour or so. But yeah, so let's get stuck into it. Let's warm up and go from there. Alright, let's put 80. Usually with the bench press I take quite large jumps. I don't know, for whatever reason, I just feel like I'm already warm from doing the previous exercise, which is usually the squat. So I just kind of jump straight into it. I just go bar for whatever reps, 10 reps, 15 reps, 20, depending on how I feel. Put 60 on, 5 reps or whatever, put 80 on, 5 reps. Then I do 100 for a triple or something like that, and I usually kind of just have really quick jumps, and I don't usually warm up, like it doesn't take me a whole bunch to warm up. So yeah, this is 80. Let's see how this feels. Get the blood going to the muscles, to the joints. Now, the one thing that's kind of been really weird ever since I started front squatting is because of the external rotation that I have to kind of put on my arm to front rack, my right shoulder has kind of been feeling a little bit funny because I'm constantly, with the bar being here, I'm constantly kind of like trying to flex the shoulder. It's kind of feeling a little bit funny in the shoulder ever since I started doing it, which is probably, stretching the shoulder too much. And then when you get back to bench pressing, the shoulder kind of feels unstable because you're kind of stretching those poor rotator cuff muscles, which are not supposed to be not supposed to be, but they're not used to that range of motion. So we'll see how it feels today. Hopefully it's okay. Let's see how 100 moves. That felt all right. So from here I go to 120. 120 and see how that feels. I kind of have an idea of how the day is going to go. If 120 feels good, then I usually go 130, sometimes 135, and then 140. I know in that week, the crazy week that I put all those PRs, leading up to the 140 bench press PR, I was feeling really good. Like I get to 120 and it's almost like I'm throwing it up really, really easy. So the good thing about keeping a training log is you can always go back to that week and maybe the previous 2 weeks and try and work out what caused that gain in performance. So if you're not keeping a training log, you have to keep a training log because you can't remember all this stuff. You can't remember all the things. And be as detailed as possible when you're writing a training log, how you feel, maybe your work schedule, you know, social events, something bad has happened, something good has happened, you know, if you've had a bad night, if you're going out with the boys and got smashed, put that in as well, because that's also going to have an impact. Because oftentimes when we, you know, have a plateau or we have a really good kind of period, you want to look at the previous weeks and work out why has this happened, and usually the answer is somewhere in there. And if you don't record, you can't measure, as the saying goes. All right, let's go 120. Oh. Well, 120 went pretty all right. The shoulder feels a little bit funny though at the bottom, so I'll have to keep my mind on that. Yeah, it feels a little bit funny in the shoulder, especially when I got to about here, end range. This is the thing about training, you know, it's finding the right mixture of moves. I know a lot of guys, I've heard this before, a lot of guys in the Olympic weightlifting community don't do bench press because it messes up their shoulder, which is interesting now that I'm thinking about it. A lot of guys say that bench pressing tightens the pectorals, and that makes it a lot more difficult to have that front rack position, whatever muscle in the shoulder causes that sort of range of motion to happen. I know Clarence Kennedy, he also said that in one of his videos, he said that bench pressing should be done sparingly as a weightlifter, Olympic weightlifter, or none whatsoever because of that front rack position. He was the first guy that I heard say that. But then since then I've heard a couple of guys also say that. So, I don't know, maybe I can have a good day today, not sure. Obviously I'm not one of those guys that's going to push through pain, especially for a lift such as this, which is kind of like a secondary goal for me. So let's see how it goes. 130 on the bar. Alright, let's see how it goes. So that was 130, 130, 135 now. The really strange thing about when something is hurting in your body is that your nervous system, your body kind of protects that particular area that's painful and tries to kind of limit the force that can be applied to that muscle. So in this case, my shoulder's feeling a little off, and I was tentative going down with this. I didn't want to really explode up, although it felt good. So let's continue tiptoeing through this and see if it pans out all right for the next 30, for the next reps. So 135. I feel like this is going to be the last set. I feel like this is going to be the training max for today. But yeah, this morning I did a push-up test as well, a maximum. You can check that video out as well. But yeah, I got 50. It was an interesting last few weeks because I was doing you know, a different kind of protocol, same protocol, but different kind of regiment within the grease in the groove, and I wasn't getting a lot of gains. Then I've kind of upped the reps per set, and that kind of improved my gains and my performance in the push-ups. But it's interesting because push-ups are targeting high repetitions. That's what I'm trying to do there. And with this, is kind of like targeting the maximum 1 rep max. So it's kind of like two opposite goals running at the same time. So I don't know if they're going to complement each other or they're going to inhibit each other. Not sure how that's going to work out, but whatever. Let's just go for it. I've always had a goal to hit 100 push-ups straight in one set. I've never been able to do that even as a kid. I think like when I was 12, 13 years old, I got 80 or something like that. But I was, you know, weighed 30 kilos, 40 kilos, whatever the hell it was. So now I'm a lot heavier and requires a whole lot more muscle and strength and muscular endurance to actually get there. So, all right, let's see how 135 goes. All right, let's give it a shot. Well, that went all right. So, and the shoulder felt pretty good as well. It didn't hurt me. So, screw it. Let's go 140. Quite happy about this actually. I didn't think I was going to make 135 that easily. But it moved all right. So, screw it. Let's just keep adding. Alright, let's have a sip of water. So 12 minutes into this session. So yeah. If this goes up, I'm gonna be real happy. Haven't hit 140 for a little bit now. Actually, since that last week, that week that I had all those gains, I haven't really hit 140 since then. But yeah, push-ups is key. I really think push-ups is key. I know just moments ago I said that I'm not sure whether they inhibit each other, working for your maximum repetitions in push-ups and running a maximum kind of 1 RM, you know, bench press program, running it concurrently with the push-ups, whether that's going to inhibit each other, if it's going to complement each other. So far I've found that it's actually complementing each other. Now I'm not doing stupid amount of reps with the push-ups. If you're doing, I've seen blokes on the internet do like 1,000 push-ups. Yes, I sat through the whole video, counted all those push-ups. Yeah, so some of these guys are very, very skinny, just pure muscular endurance masters, which is really interesting because I always thought that, as you know, growing up, I thought if you can do 100 push-ups on your body weight, you're gonna have a pretty decent bench press. But then when you see some of the world best bench presses, they don't really have the greatest push-ups. So I think there's a cutoff period there. I remember CT Fletcher says that he could always do 100 push-ups like no problem, like it's a warm-up. And he had a pretty decent bench press, and he was a big dude as well. But then I've asked several people on the internet that I've kind of bumped into on YouTube who have had really, really decent bench presses, like in the 4s, you know, 400 pounds. And they've always said, "Oh, I don't work the bench press. I don't worry about the push-up. I don't really know. Maybe 30, 40 reps." And I'm like, "Damn, man! So you've got a 180 kilo bench press, but you don't have a push-up, impressive push-up." So that goes to show me that push-ups are not really that important to bench pressing. However, in my experience with this is that it's giving me gains. So take that for whatever it is. I'm trying to experiment with it. So far, so good. But yeah, I don't really know what the answer is. If you guys think that push-ups help the bench press, let me know. Do you guys do them? But certainly, so far in my program that I'm doing, it's actually working out alright, so. Alright, 140. Nope, not happening today. So, now I take 80% of that, which is around 110 kilos. I usually just round it off so I don't have to mess around with little weights. Put 110 kilos on the bar and then do 10 sets of 3. And that's basically the workout. So let me put that on. That's set 1. How long do I rest between these sets? 2 minutes or so, something like that. But I don't really follow a clock. I go until you know, I feel fresh. When I feel fresh, I get back to it. That's about it. That's about it, really. So I try to do this 2 times a week. Although, like I said to you guys, there's been 1 session last week. Yeah. When it comes to bench pressing, when it comes to push-ups, the one thing that I always think about, I don't know what you guys think about this topic, let me know, is that the penitentiary guys, the inmates, the guys that spend a lot of time in prison, why are they so jacked? I've looked into it a little bit over the years. A lot of those calisthenics guys who work out in the park, a lot of these guys are from the States. Why are they so jacked? You know, unbelievable strength when it comes to the push-ups and the pull-ups. They look incredible. They look like bodybuilders without doing any weight. I've done a bit of research and I've heard that they do something like a couple of thousand push-ups a day while locked up. That is incredible. I know there are some challenges going around nowadays that, you know, call for you to do 1,000 push-ups in 1 day and whatever. Imagine doing that day in, day out. That's absolutely incredible. Now, I swear those guys have really good bench presses as well. So that's what kind of led me to think that doing push-ups increases bench press. It has to. I mean, those guys, the pecs, the triceps, they're so developed. It's all from doing push-ups. Incredible. That's one of the most interesting things for me, is the dudes in prison. They're so damn jacked. Oh, I don't know what it is. I know those guys don't get steroids, or do they? I wouldn't know. My logic serves me that they don't get steroids in the gym, in the prison. So it's a really interesting group of population. These guys don't have the greatest diet. They sleep a whole bunch. I've heard people talk about that their testosterone levels are higher because of the nature of the environment. You know, they're continuously kind of fearing, you know, fights and getting stabbed, all that sort of stuff. So their natural testosterone is higher because they live in such a dog-eat-dog environment. Whereas us on the outside, we're so damn comfortable. You know, we're safe, we're comfortable. You know, there's no threats to a degree. It depends where you live, I guess, but there's no immediate threats to our lives. So, you know, our hormonal profile is a lot more relaxed. And so I guess because of that, we have less testosterone running through our veins, less ability to put on mass, we're less anabolic. These are some of the thoughts I've had over the years. It's just incredible how jacked these guys are. Now, if I was to kind of build up to a level where I could do 1,000 push-ups a day, 2,000-3,000 push-ups a day, I mean, you need a whole lot of time to do that shit, right? Like, you need to be sitting in a cell and not have alive, basically, to do that many push-ups. Unless you can do 500 push-ups in a go, like, you know, that's a stupid amount of push-ups. But yeah, so that type of thinking leads me to believe that push-ups are fantastic. Like, just do high repetitions, you can get jacked. Now, some of those guys do, you know, kind of more difficult versions of the push-ups, guys sitting on their backs, diamond push-ups, one-handed push-ups, all that sort of stuff. So they have a way of overloading in a different way, not just the repetitions. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Why do you think those guys are so jacked in prison? And do you think those guys that are doing 1,000 push-ups a day, do you think those guys would have an impressive bench press? Do you think they would bench 315, 405? I feel like they would. Alright, set number 3. What are we in? 22 minutes. Alright, this probably will take 40 minutes. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna cut up the sets from now on, so this video doesn't end up being 10 hours. So I'll talk to you at the end of the workout. Set number 4. Set number 5. All right, set number 6. Set number 7. Set number 8. Set 9. Alright. Let's make them good quality. Well, I'm slowing down now. I'm getting a bit tired. Alright, one more set. Alright, last set. Let's get it. So 34 minutes all up is what that workout took. I know I've cut it up a little bit so it's not such a long video, but that's basically the training session. Now you've guys seen everything basically there is to know about my training routine. So there's this day, and then there's a day where I do more volume on the squats, and I just alternate those 2 days. On the days where I actually have to work, I basically just hit a very simple minimalistic squat workout and I call it quits. So that's basically it for my bench press workout. And then later tonight I'll hit another set of push-ups and rinse and repeat, I guess. Alright guys, I'll catch you in the next one.